everybody. It's Happy Hour time. Welcome to Happy Hour. We are super excited to have Michelle Vilms here with us today. Liz is here, but she is actually hanging out in the chat today. She hopefully will be able to come on a little bit later, but she is being the good daughter that she is by hanging out with her dad in the hospital today. So if everybody could send her some good wishes for that. He's going to be okay, but he's just having a little procedure done, and she's being the good daughter that she is. So, and you know about hospitals, they always go a little bit over. They don't really run on the same schedule that we're used to. So how is everyone doing? I'm going to see in the chat. It looks like we've got Anne Marie's joining us, and Ellen and Jean, our Jim Stevens, one of our regulars. Jean is here. Hi, Jean. So welcome, everybody. Hey, Don,
everybody.
Nice to see you. Again, we're really excited to have, and there you are. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So she's hanging out in the hospital. She's with her dad. I was just telling everybody where you were. So, so happy you're able to dial in and join us, Liz.
Yeah, I'll be hanging out in chat, so I'll be probably chatting up a storm and typing net messages.
Fantastic. So we're really excited, really excited to be kicking off our 2023 season. You know, we're already in February, so yes, we've had a couple of happy hours so far, but what Liz and I have decided to do for 2023 is we kind of flipped happy hour on its head, and we're actually going to shine the light on you guys. So what we keep hearing from our peers, and we're curious too, is we want to hear from practitioners just like you and me, what each other are actually using in their firms. You know, there's so many apps out there. We all use them in different ways. We have our own secret sauce of how we do things. And so we felt like this year in 2023, let's put the spotlight on what we're doing, what are the apps and what are the tech stacks that each of us are using within our firms. And so Michelle has graciously agreed to come on and share her tech stack, and she is going to be the first in this series. So we're really excited to have you with us, Michelle. Welcome. And thank you for agreeing to be our very first tech stack, that we're presenting. And I'm just getting your deck open now. So, and then I'll put up your presenter slide. So, okay. All right. Awesome sauce.
No, I'm good. You can, if you just show the slides to the peeps, that'll be great. Excited to be here today and talk about tech stacks that we built over the last 10, 12 years. So definitely send your questions in as we move along.
Fantastic.
Is it open?
Yeah,
okay.
it's opening now. It's just taking a minute to load. So I think we'll be good. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for the PowerPoint to load, I'm going to take a minute to just introduce myself to those of you that might be new to Happy Hour. My name is Heather Satterlee, and I am a CPA. I'm also the Director of Education and Media at Woodard. I have been a practicing accountant for over 30 years. I've had three firms actually that I have started, grown, and then sold to another firm. And most recently, I did that back in April. So I love accounting. I love what we bring, the goodness that we bring to businesses and to each other. I value this community, and I love technology. That I like nothing better than to just geek out with my friends like Michelle and Liz and all of you, talking about what are the best solutions out there that make our jobs easier. So really excited. Michelle, thank you for coming on and sharing your secret sauce with all of us today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully, can you guys see my chat? Hopefully you can't see my chat. Do you see my chat? Or do you just see the slides?
I just see the slides, and I see your
Excellent.
lovely face.
Great. Okay.
So I think I want to look back at hold on. I want to make sure I can see the chat. Great. You guys look fantastic in this slide, by the way. Thanks for putting the slides together.
We had so much fun doing this photo shoot. We actually had gone down to Orlando to do this photo shoot, and we ended up, our husbands actually came with us. We had the best time. It was really fun. So we were having, and that is real champagne in those glasses, Michelle. The photographer where we had them done, it's a Macbeth Photography in Orlando. He actually opened up a bottle of bubbly and had us actually be toasting because he wanted us to be in full happy hour swing. So it was fantastic. I also want to take a moment to thank our 2023 sponsor, Cinder. So Cinder app, they offer syncing to your e-commerce, your famous e-commerce and payment tools. So we're really excited to partner with them in 2023. We've actually known Mikhail and Ilya, who are the founders of Cinder, for quite a long time. We actually met them when we were part of the Intuit Hackathon way back in, I want to say it was 2017, 2018. And they were actually competing and did a great job. So they've been on Happy Hour before. We're really excited to have them partnering with us again this year. So definitely, and they're doing some really amazing things. They do e-commerce sync, and they just rolled out last year a summary, a sync of a summary. So I'm excited to see that. We're going to be having them on for a deep dive later this year. So it's very, very exciting. So I've introduced myself. Liz, I don't know if you're able to come off of mute and talk a little bit about your wonderful self.
Sure, yeah, I can come off mute for a second. So I am elated that, Michelle, you are joining us today. I know as somebody who myself has a practice, you know, the thing that we're always trying to do is make it the most efficient as possible. And it's like somebody said in chat, you know, the elusive tech stack, you know, that's so true. It's hard to always find the best solutions.
It's awesome. And that was the elusive Matthew Fulton. Matthew, we're so thrilled that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to see. If we can't see your face, it's wonderful to see your name in the chat. So welcome, huge welcome to you. Absolutely, Liz. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I saw Matthew's note and I was all excited. So
you're good. You're good. I'm excited about getting Michelle introduced and getting the chat going.
So Michelle, I've known you, Michelle, for a very long time. We are from the same neck of the woods. I'm in Rhode Island and you're in Massachusetts, which is really, we're only like an hour from each other. Yeah. And we actually met through Woodard. We met through our Woodard group that we both belong to. And I've always loved your passion for the profession and your openness and your curiosity into tech and how to do things, you know, in a way that is 100% your own. So can you just tell us a little bit about all the specific stuff, your accolades and the things that you do that make you amazing?
So I have a number of accolades. I am on the Intuit Trainer Writer Network with a great supportive team of some of the people that are on here. I was voted top 50 women in accounting by Ignition. And now I'm on their inaugural council this year, which is really, really fascinating because it's so entrepreneurial based, right? And you get to really talk about problem solving, which I really love. My background, I grew up in corporate America at Staples, and I worked there for a long time. And I just really love entrepreneurship and watching people grow their companies. So that helps me do my work. And then in my spare time, I do some community work on the Boys and Girls Club here in Boston and the New England Aquarium. So those are some of my passions for after work. And today we're going to talk about the tech stack, right?
Yes. So we are going to have you dive in and show us your secret sauce. And I think, you know, we're super excited to hear about what you're using, but I think the thing that we all want to know is why. So you picked the tech you did. Why? What is it that makes it so amazing? And why did it fit your firm? And maybe even talk a little bit about, you know, some of the other alternatives that you were looking at, what the major pain point was that this particular app or each particular app actually addresses. So, and then I'm going to be Vanna. I'm running the deck. So you just tell me to flip to the next slide and I will do that for you. So this is our agenda, and we're going to go through, we did our introductions. We're going to go through the overview of the full workflow, and I'm going to have you talk through that. And then we're going to peek inside the internal tech stack, do a special app highlight. We have a couple of those. Look at the external tech stack, special app highlight, and then we're going to do the close. And so when we're talking, and this is for our friends that are joining us today, when we're talking about the internal tech stack, what we're talking about is what are the tools that Michelle is using inside her firm to run her practice. So those would be things like, what is she using for billing? What is she using for engagement letters, for accounting, collections, things like that. And then the external stack are the apps that she's using to service her clients. So those would be things that could include things like third-party applications for a specific industry. It could be a tool that she's using to pay bills, for example, things like that. So that's what we're talking about. This is the first time we're doing this format. We're so excited, but definitely excited to have you get started. So let's jump in.
So great. So this is going to be so fantastic. And because I'm going first in the series, we thought we would frame it with how you could think about things moving forward. And if you have something to share here on the Happy Hour, get in touch with Liz and Heather and, some colleagues and find out what you might want to know. So this is just like an overview of like, you're going to have to think about what you need. There are many, many things to think about. So if we switch slides, we're going to get to how to get started and think about it, right? And how you think about it doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or if you have a firm of a few, because I definitely would say, looking back, I was a firm of 1, and then I was a firm of 2, and then I went to a firm of 7. I wish I just started with the thought in mind of I could be a 7. So it helps you think about what you want to include. So the key components that we're going to think about, no matter what stack we're talking about, is you're going to create a plan first, and don't jump right in. You're going to adopt something that's at your own pace. So I have this crazy rule now, as I've gone through the years. I don't do new tech in Q1. And then there was one exception. We're going to talk about that. But give yourself a rule and say, you have to, and then own your part in the process. And I have been guilty of this, and I think many of you have been. You adopt it, and then you're mad at the software, you're mad at the programmer, because you didn't take the time to do at least the overview of the tech, and you jumped right in because we're all nerds, and then we're mad it doesn't do something. So really own your part of it. Then you want to focus and set some dedicated time. I do think for the programmers out there, 2-week test is too short. So negotiate with your programmers, like, hey, I'm going to set aside this month to look into your program and really work with them. So think about that. And then finally, we're going to talk about in the session how true collaboration with vendors and colleagues really leads to great success. There's no right answer. There's no right combination of answers. Sometimes it's the cart before the horse. So we're going to talk about a few of those and hopefully really get you thinking about what's possible. And then the way I would look at it is like, for the next 3 quarters, what are you going to like wrap up in Q1? And then what will you do for the different quarters to get a frame? Now you can go faster or slower, but at least you have a plan that's not like, oh, I wish I was doing this or wish I was doing that. So, so for the next slide, it is a little messy and it's intended to give you a frame, and it is not all inclusive, but to bring home the point, to really start, you would just start with the first column. What are the purposes of the software you need? And then I've listed some of my choices, which, like, are you a Mac firm or a PC firm? Matt, I know you're out there and I know you're a PC guy. Remember the PC versus the Mac? Or yes. And so you want to just look through who are you? So I'm a Google firm, which meant, Michelle, go deep on Google, understand the Google Drive, understand how to use Google Sheets and Google, like all of it, understand how Excel fits into it, right? And so there's many other choices, and I did not list them all, but I've tapped into a bunch of them and said, why did I choose this over that? And so Heather, just in the overarching scheme, these are some of my factors. I do look on LinkedIn and who's getting funding, who has the integrity that I have of my firm, how do they treat their people, are there a firm I would want to work in? So one of my initial firms is I do work with Ignition. Love them because I love what they stand for. I love their product. right? And so that's where I start with, like, I like the integrity of the firm. I like how they're working. I like that they got funding and they're going to be around a while. And then how have my colleagues worked in it? So when I think about it, I don't think I'm the first adopter. I think I'm the early adopter with a little guidance from like Heather and Liz, like, okay, we looked into it. We know that, right? Heather, any thoughts on that? Right.
Yeah, I love what you said about it being individual to the firm, and that, you know, you have to really be aligned with companies, you know, and partners that feel like partners, because you do have those core values aligned. And I love what you said about not one solution fits all, right? And I think it comes back to that, right? Everybody has a different way that they work. Some people are solo practitioners, some people have teams, and the tech that you choose needs to fit into your process and your team, and not the other way around, right? What you had said before about just going after the shiny object and implementing tech, you really do need to start with a plan and talk about, you know, learn about, you know, how do I work? How, what are the things that, you know, that really work in my workflow, and understand the mechanics of that flow of information and the way that you process it, both as a firm and as an individual, when you're actually choosing the you know, the technology.
Right. And so when we move into some of those specifics, we'll talk about where are the exceptions and how do you bridge two pieces of software that both have similar capabilities, but they're both great and they have different reasons why they fit in your firm. But you know, think about, you know, I have telephone listed way in the bottom here because I don't think that texting is a business tool, but other firms love texting, and Grasshopper or Dialpad have those texting capabilities. So I wasn't ready to do that because I'm not in favor of texting. So I found a different way. But there are people that are very successful with that. And so it's at the bottom of my list. Actually, I'm just adopting one of them this year after 12 years. So you take it at the pace that's going to fit into your firm. So that's kind of the broad overview. I challenge you to, you know, go back and look at it. Just sit down and mark out what's your list. What do you have? What do you wish you have? What do you have that you shouldn't have? What do you want to phase out? Just all of those things, because everything's always new. And what I'm realizing from some of the people I hired is we're an entrepreneurial firm. We're always going to be changing. We're always going to be looking at cool technology, new workflows, improved things. And so it's not a steady state ever, but it's a good solid base. So that's what I'm after for that. So I have a drink in the middle of my slide here.
You do have a drink in the middle of your slide. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so this is we're just going to raise a toast. Again, I had mentioned that Cinder is one of our sponsors for 2023, and they have a signature drink called the Sydney, it's the Cinder, not the Sydney, the Cinder Sunrise. And it has vodka, Curaçao Blue, pineapple juice, and ice. It sounds absolutely delicious. And I encourage everyone to, well, everyone who wants to partake. Some people can't have pineapple juice or vodka. Yeah, give it a shot. I like blue drinks, and it kind of goes with the happy hour, like Cinder and happy hour branding. Their branding's similar.
The colors are good. Yeah,
the colors are good. Yeah, totally.
I did like it.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I have one question before you dive into your core tools.
Okay.
You had actually said, you know, you were talking about finding the tools and really having the plan, right? Having the plan. How do you do that? Do you do that as a team? Do you and your team talk about the pain points that are happening, that are occurring in your firm and with your clients, and then kind of ideate what's the most important to tackle? How do you do that?
So I would say we're doing that now, and I'll give an example in the main presentation. But early on, it was just me, and some of my pain points were everything was in my phone, or I had a folder on my computer, and I gotta go talk to Seth and figure out this darn Google Drive. And so during the pandemic, I took a whole course on the Google Drive and all the things I could do with it that were scaring me, and I learned it. And so now I have the right shared folders and the right the right file tree, just all this, but I had to take time and space and say, if I'm going to be a Google firm, I got to adopt that. And I was using Box, so I got out of Box, and I'm just kind of there. And then you're like, okay, what's the other pain point? I have every contact in some email, in some, but only I could solve that for the solopreneur to the 1 or 2, and then the team helped me fill it in. And then when they use Slack, they liked it so much they adopted Listio, because they felt like it was the same, like, communicating platforms. They could communicate with their clients, and so they were helpers in the adoption of this will be great for them. So it definitely evolves over time, like, and then you have to have clients. So one of the things we do is, one of my phrases, would you try this with me? Like, I'm not I've vetted it. I usually tell my clients how I vetted it and what happened with it. And would you really give it a try? Our colleagues endorse it. And so this community is really helpful to me in talking about how we are experts and what other people have said, and how we really are thoughtful and not just grabbing the coolest technology we know of, right? And the other thing I would say about this, so if we could, the other thing I would say about internal, and I think this was like the greatest phrase, is I get pushback on what stuff I want to use. And I realized that, so a friend of mine, she was in tax, and she said, no one ever asked me what tax software I use. I just do their taxes. So it stuck with me to say, yes, there are other technologies. This is the one we have chosen to go deep on. It doesn't mean your technology is bad, but it helped me be a little confident, more confident, or stronger in my position to say, this is how my company runs. It's my company. And so for us to be experts, we can't be thin. We got to be deep.
Right.
And it was okay. And if you really want to use that, you really have to find someone else. And that's okay too. And to just meet people where they are, right? So let's talk a little bit about maybe just the overall our internal stack. If you go one slide deeper, so we talked about Google. We used Listio early on. When I was going to use Listio, I'm thinking cornerstone, right? It's going to be. So I met with Chris at one of the. He's the CEO, and I met with him at one of the conferences, and I said, just tell me about where you're going. Like, this is a big thing to untangle if I'm not happy, right? So think about the things that get tangled in your firm, and how would you exit if you had to exit, and what are you going to do to use it? And so there's all important, but they're not insurmountable, and you can take baby steps to get there. We love Slack. I would say my homework for the end of the year is, how can I go deeper? Can I have better integrations? I know Heather's like great at the Zapier stuff. I don't have a lot of those, but I'm working through it, right? And then I have ClickUp. Spent a long time, took a class, watched a lot of YouTube videos, set it up for bookkeeping. And then my team went crazy excited, and they set up all the folders. So it helped them to get organized. It helped me to answer questions better, because I have a job morning, afternoon, and evening to answer their questions on their task. So then there was Keeper. And here's my story about Keeper. I ignored them. So we're gonna talk about them. This is my specific on the internal, because I know we don't have that much time. So I heard about Keeper, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. That'd be nice to have. But I got ClickUp, man. I'm all set. I cannot be distracted. I'm very busy. So then two of my teammates, they came into my office. Well, they came into the phone. I was gonna say they came into my office. They had a convoluted process on how we were going to do 1099s this year. And it goes something like this. Michelle, we're going to make a list from ClickUp, and we're going to make it in Excel. And then we're going to figure out all the bookkeepers that are on the different ones. Then we're going to make the other list of who we have to get. And they got halfway through it. And I was like, no, that is just not a repeatable process. No, I still, and me as the owner and doing less of the work, I'm trying to get my arms around it. I don't feel like I have my arms around it. So here's how you circumvent some things. So the pain point for me was to review 1099s in bulk in every QBO file that I have. What Keeper was selling was make a cool task list and review all of your bookkeeping needs in one place. I didn't really need any of that. And then I talked to Ben, who is one of the founders of the company, and he showed me this 1099 section of review. And I skipped all the other parts and just did that because the software was affordable and he was willing to listen to me. And I said, this is the problem we're going to solve. I don't want my clients in the communication platform because we're already using something else. I already got ClickUp. We're already using something else. I love it. I'm not going to redo it. But you have something I want. Okay. So I go halfway down and now I'm starting with the review. And I fall in love with, I actually feel like I'm driving the bus. I know every client, and we're going to show a screenshot in a minute, but I know everything. But so my point of this story for you to understand is that it's okay if you had solid software in another area, and we will stay with the ones that we have, but we need this other part. And it is, so we met with them a couple of times and we wanted to email the vendors, but that wasn't an option. And then what happened? At Appy Camp, we talked about it a little bit more, and Ben promised me. So these are two things: collaboration, transparency, and real honesty about your deadlines from both sides. So we talked about it in July, right? We talked about it in July, and it was done in November. Michelle, I promise we are working on this for November and you will be ready. And I'm here to tell you that we were closed, buttoned up, no worries, absolutely know what was going on. So he became my front end, and then it goes through, it's all magic, and it goes to tax 1099 and out the other end. But Pat, who works on my team, she worked with them. She loved it so much. She knows everything about it. She felt like she knew what was going on. She could talk to the other team people. And we knew that we had reviewed every single thing in every single file, which, let's face it, maybe that was not always done to its most effectiveness. So
Well,
what do you think about that, Heather? That's my story about Keeper.
I love it. I love it. I think that the common theme that I'm hearing from you through your stories is that relationship. It's that relationship where you're saying, I talked to the CEO of this company. I talked to the CEO of that company. And I feel like that's a thing that really does make the difference when you're looking at technology, is actually having that conversation. Now, with some apps, obviously, it's can be hard to get to the CEO or the founder of the company, and
True.
and so that's something. But finding somebody that's you feel supported by and that is going to be a true partner to you, I think that's really what I'm hearing you say, is that that's key in selecting software. Is you need to feel like you have access to them and that you feel heard by them. And then
go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, sometimes there are help desk issues, but sometimes there's real, like, here's an issue maybe we could solve together. Those are two different kinds of things. And I do feel heard, but what I want to impress upon the group is I skipped to the middle and I got a really great resource on something I really need. And I put every one of my clients on it.
That's great.
And now I'm reviewing. And so I just want to show, I guess if you skip like 2 slides.
Well, before we move from this slide, can you just 5,000 level view or 550,000 level view, could you just go through and tell us for each of these apps what they do? Because I think some people that might be on with us might not understand what they actually do in your firm.
Sure, I skipped over that. So the Google platform is like Gmail, Google Drive. We share the team, so each client has a team folder, and we share like Excel, files that need to be shared amongst the group. We have company files in there, so we have files. We have sheets, which is similar to an Excel. But then I learned, this was the key to the whole thing, that you can do. I use a Mac. My whole firm uses a Mac. I could download the desktop app, and that allowed me to have my Excel files on my Google Drive, which I could go anywhere. But on my computer, I could open it. I didn't have to download it to open it in this Excel version. So I could still use Excel. And just learning those little nuances, learning about groups and learning about how to wipe it off of people's devices and be a real admin about Google. So I'm the Google platform. Liscio is a client communication platform where I have everything about a client. If I know their insurance broker, or I know their attorney, or their a tax accountant, all the things about them, and all the people on their team and all the people on our team is in that. And we do messaging through there, and we share confidential files. It's a closed application where you have to be invited to it. And we have really great success. My team feels successful because they're the ones on the front lines having messages consistently not in their inbox. And they can focus on the client they want. They don't lose messages. Messages don't fly all over the place. And if someone's out, you can take a look at that. Now, Slack for us are two things. And somebody a long time ago shared with me how they use Slack, and they taught me about the channel. So we have a channel for each. It's a like texting, but for companies. And it connects to a lot of other platforms that I can't speak to all of them, but I can connect to my Google Drive. I connect to Loom and make videos, practicing on that. So we have a channel section for each client, and that's for banter amongst our client, our team. Like, hey, did you get me that file? Or could you take a look at this? Banter and then we have like company chat, like it was someone's birthday. Then we have a tech section, tech dash whatever. Any piece of tech that we use has a channel. When I get emails from people on new notifications, I'm always like, where should this go in my firm where someone would look at it? I copy it and I paste it right in the channel. It's got the link, it's got the product manager, it's got and then you can pin it to a channel if it's like really important forever. Like how to do a payroll journal entry. It's just going to be right there. So it's a little knowledge base because knowledge is always changing. So do we need the big binders anymore? No. We need a searchable format, and we need something that's current. So I have a laundry list of those. And then you have direct messaging. And now we're finding for our bigger clients, we're moving to a sort of a bigger space, is we teach them how to use it. They share a channel with us. And so we have access to all their department heads or who are doing invoices, and who now we're out of their email and they're out of ours. Right. And it's streamlined, and we teach them what is effective. You need an AR channel and an AP channel, and we'll get your invoices out like that. And we won't have this spinning reply all that makes me want to die. So that's Slack. Anybody else for a Slack thing? I'm like, I love Slack.
No, it's great. Slack is awesome. And yeah, no, I love that. And you're right. We actually did that in our firm too, where we had clients that would actually invite us into their Slack. And because you can have the different channels, it was really easy to switch between them. And it did give you additional access, and it's secure. So love that. And then ClickUp.
Yeah, ClickUp is a task manager. It's a little challenging if you're not comfortable with starting with a blank page. But that's why you have the resources of the community. And I found a woman, she does a lot of YouTube videos, and she focused some segments on bookkeeping. And so on our ClickUp, we have a folder for each client. So I have two spaces. I have a client space, just folders about clients. And I have a company space, and then I have Michelle's personal space, different permissions for those. And then within the folder, what I like about it, it equates to a file cabinet where each list is like the set of tasks for bookkeeping or advisory or new projects with that client. And then it goes on from there to assign them as task management and SOWs, how to get things done. And it gets more and more intricate. But what has worked for us as a communication is within the task, you could send me a message, Michelle, I don't understand. So we have, if this helps people, we have two statuses that work in our firm really well. Waiting on clients, because in progress doesn't really say anything, right?
Right.
Waiting on a client, they're red. And then we have yellows, I need help. Just yellow, I need help. And then the other one is just like, we're late, right? And so we don't want any of those, because that means the process isn't working. So we started out with a lot of blues, like, why are they late? Why are the dates getting moved? But now we don't want any of those, because really the only two reasons something should be late is you need help with something and I wasn't available, or we're waiting on the client. And if the client gets too many reds, they get a phone call from me. Like, why? You are holding up my workflow. What is the problem? Right?
Yep.
So that is, I'm going to say, my team's workflow. And I will say Keeper is a task management that I don't know anything about, because they have that part. They are a book review of QuickBooks. So I use 100% QuickBooks. But when we adopted it, and this maybe gets to like the shiny penny and the distractions, no one is allowed in there except 2 people, because it was year end. I was like, they are going to not focus. I don't want to talk to them through there. They're doing what I asked them to do. And then as soon as they're done, I'm going to flip over. And I like centralization. So we had a centralized review process, and it worked for me. So I only have 1 or 2 people on my team who are reviewers, higher level people. And I don't need the bookkeepers in there and writing comments. I don't need to do that. What we did is we reverted back and made a section in ClickUp. Like, these were not reviewed. You need to solve them by the next close.
Gotcha.
And it called Keeper Review. So that's how we connected them. And it's not perfect. And I know I kind of went out of process for them, but I'm telling you, they got my business because they helped me with a really big problem. And based on what I see on Facebook, people loved it.
They
But
do.
it was a
People love
product
it.
of, no, I mean, people loved the 1099 process
Yeah.
as they got to learn about it. And it was hidden that Ben and his team didn't really know that that was going to be a big pain point that they really could solve. And so talking to them, I really want to say, speak up. We are pretty, we're talented at what we do, and we do have our version of the truth that can help them build better products. So that's Keeper. That's my internal, right?
Awesome. And I
I'm
think you
watching
talked about you've done a little bit of a deep dive into Keeper. So
I just have 2 slides as a little fun, so everybody
perfect.
here and then. So this is I took the client side off, which would be the first column on the left-hand side, but you can see I assigned someone. These are all like not started. These are all going to be for January. But here's the goal. See the bottom row?
Yes.
So you are a nerd at technology. You know that you want the whole row to be green. So imagine
Right.
a whole thing of green. And when it's green, then you're like, yay.
We're in the money.
So you can see in the middle vendor requests. I knew those were all the requests that got sent out for 1099s.
That's
And
fantastic.
when they got answered. So it's going to get better. It's going to evolve, but check it out. And then the next slide is just to show you where I found the hidden gem, because I did love it so much.
Right.
So it was down here, prepare 1099s. And I was like, shut the front door, So basically you can email within here, the person can email you back, and then it gets coded to QuickBooks, and then off it goes. No extra lists, and you know how that goes, guys.
Right.
You do. So I'm sure they're happy to give you a demo, but just that's my journey with Keeper, and yeah, it's been great. So we'll keep up with it. But you can see, I wanted to show you like the steps. See how it says account reconciliation, transaction. That's kind of the middle. There's other stuff, and then you see by the top, there's a plethora of things to do. I just took what I could handle, and I didn't give it to my team. It was going to be distracting. And now maybe the special few will get to use it also, because it will make them more efficient, but I just wasn't ready, and it was going to distract everything, right? All right, let's keep going so we don't run out of time. So so that was internal, and now we're going to do external.
Yes.
Okay. So I have 2 things on the external.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. You could switch. You could switch.
Go ahead. Okay. All right.
So choose your core team also on your external, and that gets back to like, how do you do your taxes, right? So we use 100% QBO. This year, sadly, I've had a few clients want to go to NetSuite. And I was like, should I go to NetSuite and know that? No, distraction over here. I don't want to do that. But I asked the community what their results had been, and there are different firms that do different things. So know your core thing. Bill.com we adopted really early on, and there are many great payment platforms for many different reasons. And because it wasn't broken for me, I haven't been distracted by the new ones because I had other things to solve. Now, that doesn't mean people can't get into the fold, but I had to stick with it's not broken, what needs to be fixed. And that's how you do that list at the beginning. Don't get distracted by what's working. You know, like Ignition, I like forgot about them for a while because it's working, but there's so many other cool things, right? So Dext is the receipt capture. Bill.com is the payment platform, which, you know, as they evolved, they could do international payments, which was really helpful. So don't switch. Go deep if you find a core, and then add on extras to what you like. I wanted to talk about in this slide ADP and Gusto as a firm, great resource. There are many great payroll platforms, but these two have accountant platforms that allow me to work with the security of my firm, and I know who has access to what. And that is really important to me. And you mentioned a few other ones, and each person has to have their own login. They got to give social security numbers. Like, what is happening with that? So I favor these because they allow me to have a dashboard of who's using it. I understand how the security gets out, and we learn more about them so that we can help our clients. So that is my core. And then today we're going to talk about my new darling that snuck in on Q1, which is Cinder. And with this, I want you guys to learn a couple things. First, here's my story. A long time ago, I think like what Kelly, you remind me, the hackathon, I did use Cinder. And I don't have a huge e-commerce base, but I like e-commerce. You know, I grew up in retail. I'm like, I like it, but it's so complicated. And you don't need all that junk in your QuickBooks. So I adopted some other things. I've been frustrated with some other things. And it's been a distraction for my firm. So I'm like, should I drop e-commerce? Should I just say, forget it? Like, it's taking too much time for me to focus on it. And then I went to QB Connect and met my dear friend, Kelly Gonzalez, and she was dressed as Cinderella. I don't know who saw her. Did you guys see her? Anybody in the chat see?
Great.
Right. Listen, and if you know Kelly, she's very quiet. And so I'm like, she's really going on her box. Like, what's going on? She's like, would you give this guy like 5 minutes to talk to him? Yeah, I would for you. And so she works a lot in e-commerce, and she endorsed them. And she said, you know, I really feel like they haven't been marketed. You know, they're great. So could you give them a chance? So I went to lunch with them. I talked a little bit more about them. I told them what my very specific issues were with 4 clients, 4 different clients, many different platforms. And you know what he said? He goes, all right, call me when you get back. And we're doing a sponsor at the show, because I'm really tired of paying for all these subscriptions when I don't get the value, and I pay you guys for like 3 months until it gets going. And I could say that about many technologies, you guys know that. So here's what's happened. We're dealing with his top programmer. There's 6-hour difference. We have done client by client by client, each platform. So what Heather mentioned is they've gone to a summary format. Fantastic, exactly what I needed, but it was a little too summarized. But instead of saying it's not working, I said, could you help me understand why I can't delegate this to somebody on my team? Because they're not going to understand what you just explained to me on how to this went in this way and how it reconciles out of the holding account. The most fantastic experience, because we realized they see the platforms as an example, but real life pain points are just more helpful. So I was able to say, this is why I can't reconcile it. And do you see what my problem is? And it worked on part A and part B, but part C is not working for me. And I believe you, and they were able to prove out that it did wreck out, but not in the way I could delegate it to a team of bookkeepers. Fixed. Decided to work with the programmers and blow out that summary a little more detailed so that this rec works better. Great. And then now we've saved the last baby for this month, which is Amazon. And you know, that could have many issues because now our client has decided to go in many different countries. So We talked to him and we said, please trust me. We know the owner. We talked to this, we're working through that. We're sharing your data with them. Are you okay with that? And we're really getting to a solution. So my point is, one, if you've seen a software that's been around for a while, give them a second look, because I definitely was prompted with Kelly to do that. And it has really solved a serious pain point for me that has saved a lot of hours, and the clients are happy. So we've done Stripe, we've done Shopify, Authorize.net, and now we're going to do Amazon. And with that knowledge, we're going to move forward fast. And now I'm not afraid to take that on. I know how much time that work is going to take. And so we're going to do a little more work with them. I hear they're going to be on in a month or two.
They
maybe.
are.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a deep dive with them in May, so that'll be awesome. We're very excited about that.
And so, talk to all of us, like, and ask people. I always say, what was your biggest problem with them? Right? Like, were they receptive to, so, because it's going to work, right? Any review is going to be like, oh, they were great. No, well, what was great? Well, what's been great about this, we make an appointment. My teammates she's been heard. She's like, they listen to me. I'm an old lady. She's older. She's like, everyone always dismisses me, but I really do know what I'm talking about. And she actually listened to me, and we solved this problem together. They're going to benefit because the summary needs to be a little more detailed than the summary. And we're going to benefit because we've serviced our clients and they're really happy. So that is my story of
I love it.
Cinder. So and so I hope so the next slide is just a little picture of it, and I'll just say very briefly because you'll watch the demo. But basically you pull them in and I did all of mine as summaries, and so the detail one will have a different approach. But one of the things I learned about is they could go in and fix time zones. So like, Michelle, if it's wrong, maybe the time zone is wrong for PayPal or something. I don't know, but they're helping me. And then fully fetched and what goes in your books. And the coolest thing on the far right here, if you push it in and you don't like it, you can roll them all back.
Love that.
That's a good one, right? So like, let me try it. We all want to push the button. So I push the button and I'm like, oh, I didn't really like that one. Or we pushed it and she's like, let's roll it back. I'm going to fix that on our end and we'll push them all again.
Yeah.
And then they'll help you. Okay. So I hope you really get that. And then I think in my last couple of slides here, what I hope that you got out of today's kickoff for the tech series is collaboration, transparency, real deadlines. Keeper's doing a really good job of saying, a lot of people want stuff. We pick these for this month. Okay, great. I can't tell you how to run your company, but good. Thank you for letting me know. Intuit's done a good job of sharing with us on what they're working on, what has resonated with a larger group of people, recognizing it's not all about me, but collaboration is key. And keep moving forward. Read people's LinkedIn, know what's going on in their companies and be excited about them too, right? Because we're all growing our companies together.
That is, if somebody's going to take away a piece of advice, I think I love what you said about, researching the companies and looking on LinkedIn, looking on their press release page on their website, because that is important. And we've seen it happen before where an app gets launched, they're out there selling. They seem like the best thing in the world. And you sign up for them, and then all of a sudden you get an email that says we're shutting down, and that causes disruption to your firm. It causes disruption to your clients. So you really do need to understand, are they going to be around? What are their future plans? Because that really can, cause some issues. Jean Zick has an amazing question for you, and I love this.
Looking at it now, yeah.
You do see it. If you're starting over again, what is the technology that you would begin with?
Well, so I'll start with, I'm 100% remote. And I think the foundation of like ClickUp and Slack were foundational for me to really running a great team. And so, what's delegatable. So I do like that. I do wonder if I took on too much and I needed a tech person to assemble the core and make sure I had all the bells and whistles of Google Drive and And so I feel like in the beginning I was a little more happenstance of like, who knew this would be 12 years later, right? So Gina, happy to have coffee with you, but I think I like ClickUp a lot. And I know there's going to be other things, but really understanding, because your team is your everything, in my view. And if you can communicate with them and they have good resources to communicate to the clients, then that is 90% of the battle. And then the other side is, what industries do you want to be in, and what industries do you not want to be in? And sometimes it's easier to say what you're not, and what, like, I prefer to not work in manufacturing, in inventory, and I just don't want to learn that whole part of it. So I
Right.
want to focus deeper on these other things. So it's very specific, but I would encourage you to take a look at the list and reflect on why you're starting over again, and what worked, and kind of take some of the advice from the group.
Love that.
Does that,
And
Kelly, what do you guys have for that? Anything you would say? I mean, you started a couple firms, so they got better
yeah.
as you did it, right?
Yeah, and I think, when somebody's asked me the question that Jean asked you, if I was starting all over again, what is the technology I would begin with? It would be the documenting, it would be tools to document and store processes. Because I think when you first start your firm, unless you're acquiring a firm, right, it's just
Mhm.
you. And so you are in your own brain and you're just getting the work done, right? And so a lot of times we don't take the time to stop and document what we're actually doing. So when you do go start building a team, it's that much harder, because now everything's in your head, it's siloed in your head. And you either have to spend a whole lot of time sitting with someone training them, which you're going to have to do anyway, but then you also have to sit and actually document the processes. So if I were to do it all over again, I think that's exactly what you said: communication, the ability to facilitate the team coming on board.
Right. And I would just
Definitely.
add one thing to that is, know your strengths. So I would say I'm not a descriptive writer in instructions. And so, but there are other people on my team that are very descriptive.
Right.
So we
Yes.
have them read things and like, and think about like boiling, I don't know, macaroni on the stove. There's probably like 12 steps to that. But you're like, you fill the pot and you boil it. Right? So think about who you are in that instruction giving, and then find a better resource if you're not that person. And
Agreed.
and then swap, and I have them switch and read, and then tell funny stories about it. They're like, what did you write? But then they get stronger. It gets stronger. So here's where to find me. You can find me on LinkedIn, or send me a note if you want to talk about stuff. And maybe I'll see you guys live somewhere. But thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to talk about technology.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your time and your experiences and your awesomeness with us. We all appreciate it so much. Fantastic. What I would ask of everybody, I did have a polling question about, do you want to know more about these apps? But I actually want to know what apps that are Michelle's tech stack that you're like, I want to see that. I want to see that on Appy Hour. I want to go a deep dive and really learn how to use it, and just throw that in the chat. And we'll see if we can make some magic happen. So Michelle, this was fantastic. Fantastic. And everybody is just sending you all the love in here. So it was really helpful. So don't forget to visit our sponsor's website. Our Cinder is our sponsor this for one of our sponsors that we highlighted today. Also, join the Happy Hour Lounge Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group, and it's not super active, but it should be, because all of you, I mean, we have 50 people on the call today. All of you are in here. You're on Facebook. We do the Facebook Lives. Go on over to the Happy Hour Lounge and start the conversation there. I think there's lots that we're better together, and getting in and hearing people's successes and their failures is all, helps us all grow and get better and stronger. So please do join the Happy Hour Facebook group. You can register for Zoom if you're joining us on Facebook Live right now. You can join Zoom and register, and then come into our Zoom room and get all the goodness of the chat that's going on in here and the Q&A. And you can also go out to our website, it is thehappyhour.com, and that's where you can find all of our recordings. You can download the slide decks. So if you're interested to see in detail that great list that Michelle put together for us today, that will be in the slide deck, which will be posted either this evening or tomorrow. So definitely check that out. We got some great episodes coming up. I had a nice meeting with Ian Vason today. He's going to be doing our campfire chat next week. And I'm so excited because we're going to be focusing on the presentation that he gave, The Art and Science of Decision Making, which was a presentation that he gave at Appy Camp this past year, and everybody absolutely loved it. And we're going to be doing a live exercise with the whole group. So I really encourage you guys to come next Tuesday for that episode. It's going to be really engaging, interactive, and a lot of fun. And Ian is just such a wealth of knowledge and an awesome person. So would love to see you all there. I'm really, really excited about that. And then in March, we have a campfire chat with Keeper. So if you guys want to see Keeper, Michelle, you talked a lot about them today. Come join us for that in March. And then we have a campfire chat with Swidsnet in April, right after the deadline. So we're going to do a little partying for that one. And then we're going to have our next firm highlight with Kelly Gonzalez on May 9th. So, and I think we actually have another one. Kelly Parks is actually coming on as well. And I don't think the date is on the slide. So check out our website. It should be up on our website now. I believe that is either the 28th or the 1st. Kelly, you're here. She just said, do you know what date it is? I'm sorry, I can go look it up, but if you have it, throw it in the chat. That would be fantastic. So we're really excited to hear about her tech stack as well. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. We love you. We love this community. Michelle, thank you again for sharing your tech stack with us. Thank you. It's February 28th at 4. Awesome. Oh, yes. And Liz just threw in the chat. If you are interested in being highlighted on Appy Hour and showing us your tech stack, you can reach out to us. We would love to talk to you. We've got some great firms coming on in the future. We're going to be doing this all year, probably into next year. And I think the more that we see, the more we all learn. So very, very excited about this year. So yay. All right, everybody. We're going to close out. And thank you again. And I will see you. And Liz, thanks for being here. Tell your dad I said hi and that we're all hoping he's feeling better soon.
Oh,
all right.
Thank you. Loved being here, and the chat was fun, y'all.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, take care, everybody.